So why are you scrambling to purchase ships here at the last minute when we should have known for decades, creating Canadian jobs instead of waiting at the last minute to use it as an excuse so we can go buy them on the cheap from the People's Republic of China, creating jobs in that country instead of our own?
It's getting more and more embarrassing every single day. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today we got Mark Carney's team down in Mexico trying to make a deal with Mexico. Mexico says, no, go away. We don't want to make a deal with you. We got Doug Ford licking Carney's boots again. It's a pitiful display. And we got conservative Aaron Gunn absolutely blasting Gregor Robertson in committee. It's a beautiful thing. Let's jump into this. Starting this one off, we got a little update on fake conservative Tim Houston's plan to ban people from going into nature. If you didn't see the previous video, he banned people from going into the woods in Nova Scotia. This is not a joke. So Table Salt posting this a loophole for property owners. He's showing here, whenever deemed necessary for the protection of the woods, ministry may at any time by proclamation set aside a period of time, restricted travel in any wooded area. No person shall enter. So what he's found here though, subsection 1(2), it says does not apply to the owner or occupier of woods or the servants, agents, etc. So if you own the land, it looks like you can go into the forest, but I would check on that. Don't take my word on it, because it seems like he wants to charge people $25,000 for going into the woods. He needs to be thrown out of office. Really, he should be going to jail for imposing such a thing. This is disgraceful. I mean, look at this. So according to Grok, what Tim Houston has done here, his ban on people entering the woods is the second most strict land use law in the history of human civilization, surpassed only by this M word here, I'm not going to say, for using the King of England's hunting grounds in 1200 AD. The King of England's hunting grounds back in 1200 AD was the most strict land use law, and the second most strict is Tim Houston banning people from walking in the woods. It's funny, I was thinking of a way people could get away with going into the woods, and all they'd have to do is have a certain flag, maybe a face covering, and then you got a guy saying it right here. I'm sure the Chips and Hummus crowd would get a pass, though. I'm sure they would too. This is not okay. This whole situation with Tim Houston is not okay. People hiking in the woods does not cause forest fires. Moving ahead, we got this one from the National Post. It says, first reading, Mark Carney is pleasing old people and basically nobody else. Omit this over 65 cohort and his poll numbers and approval ratings plummet. So the old timers watching CBC are still thinking Carney's the greatest thing since sliced bread, and younger than 65 has realized that he's serving himself. Guy comments like this talking to my grandparents, 80s. They totally believe Carney is the right guy. Reasoning, he has the financial smarts, and a guy with a plan, totally blind to what's actually happening. It's sad. I mean, that's CBC propaganda at its best. Got this one here. It says, how is Carney handling the Canada-US trade war so far? Merchandise exports minus almost 16% since January. These are all since January. Vehicle exports minus 33%. Iron and steel minus 41%. Aluminum exports minus 40%. There's an interesting take by Brian Lilly. He's saying that Mark Carney is doing this intentionally because he wants to blame the Liberals' record on Donald Trump. So the more he can tank things right now, he can just blame it on Trump.
What the Carney guys seem to be doing is not going for a deal for political reasons and then allowing these false narratives to play out. It looks good to thump your chest and say that you are looking out for Canada, but what about the people whose unemployment is on the line or who are already unemployed? It's up to 12.4%, I believe, in Windsor.
Is Carney doing this so he can blame everything on Trump and then get reelected? And it's all Trump's fault. Is he doing it because he simply just wants to help Trump because it'll boost his own stocks? Maybe it's a little bit of both. I mean, if he helps tank Canada, it still boosts his stocks. And then he can blame it on Trump and then stay in power and then continue to boosting his stocks by giving our tax dollars, grants, money, contracts to Brookfield. It's all very nicely wrapped up like that. Now, is he working directly with Trump? What's their relationship behind the scenes? I don't know exactly, but it's clear that Carney's not fighting for Canada. Moving ahead, Mark Carney getting humiliated on all fronts. We've got Manitoba Métis Federation turns down Carney's invitation to talk major projects. First Nations not even talking with Carney because he's not a real leader. Nobody's taking this guy serious. I mean, moving ahead, look at this. Mexico's doing the same thing. Anita Nand down in Mexico. As I continue my official visit to Mexico, I am meeting with business leaders from diverse sectors to explore new opportunities to strengthen strategic partnerships. That's a load of mumbo jumbo. That's not what's really happening. What's happening is this. Mexico's Sheinbaum says no need for bilateral trade deal with Canada. No need. They don't want to talk to us. They don't want to rock the boat talking with Trump. So they're saying, go away, Canada. We're not doing any deals with you. So Mexican president on Wednesday ruled out bilateral trade agreement with Canada when asked about the possibility following what she called a very good meeting with the top Canadian ministers a day earlier. We have the trade deal with the United States, Canada, Mexico. There's no need, Sheinbaum said during her morning press conference. This is humiliating. Canada is just losing on all levels. We're like the mosquito that's getting squashed on every aspect of life here. We've got leaders that aren't serving us. Speaking of which, we've got one of them here, Doug Ford, praising Mark Carney. This guy's really towing the line here where he's trying to get liberal supporters to support him, but then he criticizes how the government's doing things. It seems without question, this guy's trying to go for Pierre Poilievre's job. He's trying to set forward the pieces right now so he can get the liberal supporters to vote for him. He's going to have to become the leader of the Conservatives first, which is never going to happen. He'd be better off to run as a liberal.
As we've been communicating, which is most important, I think the Prime Minister is doing everything in his power to get a fair trade deal with the U.S.
No.
Dominic LeBlanc, which I've always said is an absolute champion. He's been down there working with the U.S. administration, working hard, again, making sure that we get a fair trade deal. And then Secretary Lutt.
Dominic LeBlanc has done nothing. He's Trudeau's babysitter, turned into Trudeau's little lackey. Now he's Carney's lackey. What has he done? What has he achieved? Nothing.
I had a good conversation yesterday with him, and it was positive. It was positive, but it's very clear. There's two countries in the world that have tariffs on the United States. One is China, that want to economically and militarily, eventually, annihilate the U.S. economically, not militarily, but economically.
This guy is just trying to stir the pot. What a buffoon.
And then there's Canada, that's been a member of the family for 200 years, that have fought shoulder to shoulder with the United States, that their number one trading partner in the entire world, bar none, is Canada. We do $359 billion a year of products that we buy, not two-way trade, just the products we buy, $359 billion. To put it in perspective, that's more than Japan, China, Korea, UK, and France combined. So you have to respect your largest customer. US is our largest customer. We respect them, but it has to go both ways. You can't have tariffs on one side and not the other. I still stand by what I say, dollar for dollar, tariff for tariff. They understand strength, not weakness, and we should never, ever roll over and be weak.
And that's what this guy's essentially done. He's rolled over and being weak. He's pandering to liberals, kissing Carney's ring, licking his boots. This is pitiful, Doug. Call for leadership review. Ford is supporting Carney's desire for stronger ties to China. They will sell us out. Yep. Moving ahead here, we got this one posted on Dan Knight's page here. Aaron Gunn absolutely destroying Gregor Robertson in committee over the BC Ferries major contract, the $1 billion contract going to China. This is a thing of beauty.
Would you agree that the People's Republic of China is a dictatorship?
Chair, I'm here to speak for my ministry and not to make geopolitical assertions.
It's a pretty basic question. I mean, if we're giving $1 billion of taxpayer money to a state-owned company, we should probably be on the same page of whether this country is a dictatorship or not.
To the chair, I want to clarify that the government of Canada made an investment and created an infrastructure bank that is arm's length from government to invest in infrastructure here in Canada. And we do not have direction on what those investments are specifically. We trust that to a board.
Minister, do you like President Xi's chances in the next election?
I'm just curious how this is relevant back to the conversation that we're having.
We're giving $1 billion.
That's hilarious. So President Xi, the Xi Jinping of China, the leader, yeah, his election chance is pretty good considering it's a dictatorship. About as good as Kim Jong-un in North Korea.
$1 billion in taxpayer money to a country that is a dictatorship that is abusing human rights. I think it's relevant.
It's her point of order, Mr. Gunn. It's a valid point of order on that particular question. Let's try and make sure that we use the time that we have with the minister to ask questions relating to the BC Ferries contract. So I'll turn the floor back over to you, Mr. Gunn, and ask you to be more specific about issues relating to the BC Ferries contract.
I think this is very specific. Mr. Minister, do you believe that the People's Republic of China is currently engaged in unfair trade practices and tariffs against Canadian agricultural and seafood sectors?
Chair, I certainly will speak strongly in favor of Canadian agriculture, Canadian workers. Our industries should come first. This procurement happened through BC Ferries. It's not a decision that the government of Canada had anything to do with.
But you're subsidizing with $1 billion in taxpayer money, are you not, Minister?
This investment from the Canada Infrastructure Bank is in BC Ferries. It is a loan to BC Ferries for a procurement that they've done. So it is not the government of Canada making these decisions.
Yeah, but the government of Canada can pull that money any moment. If you guys can lock down our bank accounts, you can pull that contract from BC Ferries. You can cancel that money. You can pull that money back. Let's get real here. Gregor Robertson, along with all these other guys, Justin Trudeau, Mark Carney, all of them are wrapped up in China. That's why Gregor was brought in, because Carney knew that he'd have a guy that's already compromised by China. I mean, this guy got rich off all the Chinese millionaires and billionaires flooding into Vancouver, buying up properties.
It is the infrastructure bank financing BC Ferries, and BC Ferries made the decision on the procurement.
But Mr. Minister, it is the government of Canada and your department that sets the policies that guides the bank that then invests or loans at below market interest rates, taxpayers' money. Do you agree with the Prime Minister of this country that China is Canada's biggest national security threat?
I don't see where that comes into play. It's a BC Ferries procurement decision. And
well, Mr. Minister, we're giving them $1 billion in taxpayer money to subsidize a dual-use civilian military industry.
This whole situation is dumb because they put tariffs on Chinese steel, but then send our money over to China where they can use Chinese steel that won't be tariffed. They say they're going to fight for Canada, and Canada comes first. All these major projects coming up, nation-building projects, and the first one goes to China. They don't care about us. It's all about enriching themselves with China, with the help from China. That's why Xi Jinping helped Mark Carney campaign during the election. That should be illegal. He should be disqualified. His ties to Xi Jinping, his stock investments, the fact he still holds all these stocks, Carney has to be thrown out of office. And we've got one more here. Aaron Gunn is absolutely relentless in these committee meetings.
What is the primary reason that BC Ferries decided to award the contract to a state-owned ship? What is the primary reason that BC Ferries decided to award the contract to a state-owned shipyard in the People's Republic of China?
Evaluation criteria that we use to assess bids from yards around the world it looks at a combination of factors, including technical capabilities, delivery timelines, safety, commitment to quality, and also cost. So we use a combination of criteria to assess what is going to be the yard that can deliver the best value for British Columbians. And I hope that answers the question.
Do you think are the shipbuilding workers in the People's Republic of China better than the shipbuilding workers here in Canada?
Chair, what I'd say is the yard that we selected met very high standards for...
Is it higher than the ones here in Canada?
They met the same standards that we would apply to any yard, Chair, from any part of the world.
So to clarify, do the state-owned companies that employ these workers in China follow the same safety, labor, and environmental regulations as private companies and unions here in Canada?
That's checkmate. He knows full well that they don't.
Chair, what I can say, based on this particular procurement, is that...
It's kind of a yes or no question.
Chair, again, I'll try to answer the question. What I can say is that we assessed every yard against the same sets of standards for quality, safety, environmental standards, and this yard met the high bar that we set for ourselves, whether we're working domestically or internationally.
Do shipyards in the People's Republic of China pay their workers the same as the shipyards here in Canada?
Chair, I think the member would have to ask the shipyards themselves.
It's a pretty easy question, I think.
The likely answer is no.
I think so. So would you acknowledge that we are essentially bankrolling the offshoring of critical shipbuilding jobs to an adversarial regime because they are willing to pay their workers less and have them work in worse and lower environmental and labor conditions?
What I'd say, Chair, is that we settled on a shipyard that is bringing significant value to British Columbians and making sure that the system that we're supposed to be running delivers, safe, reliable, and affordable ferry service.
This is disgraceful. This guy's speech pattern, you can tell he's not confident with the answer. He doesn't like sitting here. I mean, this guy's from BC Ferries. Is this his decision? I don't know. Is it David Eby saying, hey, send that money over there? We got to get some more money sent over to China. We got to make Xi Jinping happy. I don't know what's going on, but there's way too many ties from all our politicians to China, and they're getting rich off of it. We know some of the ways. The fact that we're having this crisis going on, and the first big project that comes out goes to China, it just says it all.
Key part of our renewal program.
C-SPAN said that they would have liked to build these ships. That's correct.
Chair, C-SPAN has been very public in saying that they were not able to participate in this program because they had no
based
capacity.
off of how you formulated that, they expressed interest. So that it's true that you formulated the contract in a way where C-SPAN was unable to build. And one of the things that you mentioned was the fact that you needed these ships right away, that we didn't have enough time. And you made a good point, but I was looking into it, and the oldest ships that you have in service, correct me if maybe the C-class, 30, 40 years old, where you're going to depreciate them over a large period of time. And presumably the forecast for passenger growth would have been well known. So why are you scrambling to purchase ships here at the last minute when we should have known for decades, and we could have incorporated the acquisition of these ferries into a proper shipbuilding strategy to ensure that we're building that important industrial capacity here in Canada, creating Canadian jobs in shipbuilding, in steel and aluminum production, instead of waiting at the last minute to use it as an excuse so we can go buy them on the cheap from the People's Republic of China, creating jobs in that country instead of our own.
He just destroyed this guy. Aaron Gunn's so good in committee.
Chair, there's a number of things that I'm going to take issue with in the members' questions because they're just not correct. Well, first I'll start with that this program and the age of our ships is very well known and has been known for a very long time. We actually started this process 8 years ago before the pandemic and had to shut it down during that time. And at that time, we were very public, attending industry conferences every year, putting out a 20-year view of what our shipbuilding needs look like. So the industry was very well aware of where we were at and where we were going. The other thing that the member mentioned was somehow that we excluded or designed a contract to make it impossible for the shipyard to bid, and that's just simply not the case. The reality is in shipyards, C-SPAN has been very public about this, is that they acknowledged that they were not able to participate in this series build because they simply did not have capacity in their yard, given the commitment.
What was the turnaround you were requiring for the ferries?
We expect the first ship to be delivered at the end of the decade, 2029.
So 4 years?
That's correct, Chair.
So you had 40 years.
Very much, Mr. Jimenez, and thank you, Mr. Gunn.
Yeah, he had 40 years to work out a plan, and they waited till the last minute. And they knew full well that C-SPAN, the biggest shipbuilder in Canada, was full, and then it would get pushed off to China. These guys are snakes. They're working the system so they can send our money over to China. The loan for this construction of ferries built in China should be canceled. The government can cancel it. They can cancel our bank accounts. They can cancel this. The CEO is absolutely blowing smoke. Amazes me how stupid they look while trying to sound intelligent. BC Ferry spokesperson gives the government word salad answers. This man is lying, and his family finances need to be investigated.